Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos. This block is called Which Way's Up, and it's a 12-inch finished block or a 10-inch finished block. I gave you requirements for both sizes. Here's what the block looks like. I chose to make the pinwheel block in the center as one fabric, but you don't have to do that. It can be all assorted fabrics and really scrappy. Here's what they look like block to block. These are 4 blocks put together, and all of these 4 blocks have the pinwheels the same color. But again, you can mix them up if you want. These are the patch requirements for the 10-inch block. The ones we're going to talk about here are for the 12-inch block. And you simply, each patch is a square, and you cut on the diagonal twice. Patch A for the 10-inch block is a 5-inch finished quarter square triangle. This tells you what size to cut the square and the AccuQuilt die that you can use for that. Same thing with patch B. It's a 2.5-inch finished quarter square triangle, and this is what you cut the squares this size, then subcut them twice on the diagonal, and here is the AccuQuilt die for this shape. This is for the 10-inch block. For the 12-inch block, that's what I'm going to demo today. And so this is the cutting chart for the 12-inch block, and it says see below left for the 10-inch block, and that's just here what we went over. So for patch A, this is a 6-inch finished quarter square triangle. We'll cut squares at 7¼ inches, cut them in half diagonally twice, and you'll get 4 patches. I've done 4 assorted patches and 4 patches that are from the same fabric. It's not a problem, but the thing about this is if you want these assorted fabrics here, these are 4 different fabrics, you will need to cut 4 squares, and you'll have 3 patches left over, but you can use those in other parts of the block. And patch B is a 3-inch finished quarter square triangle. We cut 4¼ inch squares, cut them in half on the diagonal twice, and we'll get 4 patches. And this is the same thing. These are all assorted patches except for the background. We have 24 patches, and the rest are all assorted patches, which means for each of these you'll cut 1 square and you'll have 3 patches left over for each, but you can use them in other blocks if you're making an entire quilt. I originally planned to release this block about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and my process for doing these blocks of the day is I pick a block and I'll change it however I like if I want to. Then I'll draw it out on AccuQuilt, and then I'll write the instructions. So I wrote the instructions how I thought it should be put together. The patches were not working. The size was wrong. It was too small, and I don't know what happened. I went through, I looked at my drawing, I looked at my measurements, I measured my pieces I cut, and everything was fine. It's how it's supposed to be. So I put it to the side, and then I picked it up again a few days ago. Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So I thought something's different with what I'm doing. And I wrote these instructions, and everything came out fine the very first time. So the first thing we'll do is take 2 of the patches and make half square triangles. Then we'll take these half square triangles and stitch a background triangle to one side and then the other side, and we have this larger triangle. Then we'll take that larger triangle from step 3 and add the large accent fabric triangle. This is the one that makes the pinwheel. Then we put 2 of those together to make 1/4 of the block. So 4 of these make the entire block like this. And you'll see that as we put it together. On the next page, I have fabric requirements and quilt sizes for 3 different sizes. These are for the 10-inch finished block, if you like that. Here are the 3 sizes of quilt, and here are the number of blocks you need, the patch A squares that you cut, how many you need to cut, and what the yardage requirements are. Here's patch B for the accent fabric and patch B for the background. And we have the exact same thing here at the bottom, only these are for 12-inch finished blocks. So you have a lot of choices here. Here are the fabrics I've chosen. I chose this fabric for the main pinwheel in the center. This is patch A and this is patch A. And here are the 4 assorted fabrics that go in the rest of the block. These are all assorted accent fabrics, and then these are the background. These are patch B. We'll start with step 1, and we're going to use all of the accent B patches and 8 of the background B patches and to make 8 assorted half square triangles. Here are the 8 accent fabrics and 8 background fabrics. To do this, we simply take an accent and a background and piece them together like this. Flip it over and stitch along the long side. Press the seams open. These I cut with the AccuQuilt, but it's the exact same thing if you cut them by hand. You'll just have points here instead of the points cut off. So make 8 half square triangles and press the seams open. For step 2, we're going to take the half square triangles we just made and stitch a background triangle to the right hand side. This is where you want to really look at the picture to place your triangle, because it's so easy to get these things confused and you'll be ripping out. Here is the half square triangle, and I'm going to match the picture. So I'll put the accent fabric pointing up and the background pointing down. Then we take our background fabric and put it like this. And the way you can tell is the longer side goes along the outside. So this goes together like that. Take this is your straight line here. So you take this part, flip it over, and you want to match this side and this side. And then stitch your 1/4 of an inch this way and press your seam open. And do that for all of the 8 half square triangles. Here is what you should have after step 2. If you have any nubs sticking out, go ahead and cut all of those off because they'll just get in your way. And now step 3, we're going to take another background triangle and stitch it to the left-hand side. So I'm leaving my piece here to look just like the diagram. Take another of the background triangles and it will be placed like this. And the way you can tell is this long edge will go across this long side. We're making a big triangle. And flip this over, match this edge, and stitch a 1/4 of an inch all the way across and press your seams open. Do that for all 8 of your pieces. Here's what happens when you don't pay attention. So I'll be ripping that out and redoing it. But the other 7 came out just fine. Here's what they look like. So now we have our large triangle. For step 4, we're going to take one patch A and stitch it to the units that we just finished in step 3. I'll keep my picture nearby and rotate this how it's supposed to be, with the accent triangle pointing to the left, and then this triangle goes like this. Here we're making a big triangle. Turn this over like that and match all 3 sides. They should all be equal. Then stitch your 1/4 of an inch this way. Press your seams open, and then you'll have this piece. So do that for all 8 of your units. I have these pieces finished, but I wanted to show you something before we moved on. When you're stitching these pieces together, and you see you'll have a point here you want to be pretty. When you put them together, the 2 fabrics together, stitch on this side. If you've pressed your seams open, you can see right here where those fabrics meet. That's your point that you don't want to cut off. So stitch right above that point, and then you'll have a nice pretty point once you press your seams open. Now we'll move on to step 5, and we're going to sew 2 of these together. You'll want to take one of your accent fabric and stitch it to one of your assorted fabric like this. Just flip it over, match the seams, Now you'll have a place here. You'll need to make a pretty point and a place on the other side to make a pretty point. So you might want to use your pen here so you won't cut off your point. And stitch all of these together and you'll have 4 of these. We have our 4 sections done, and the last step is to look at the diagram and put the block together. We'll look at the accent fabrics that are the same fabric and just make a pinwheel. This is how the block is put together. So these 2 together and these 2 press, and then sew the 2 rows together, and your block is finished. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos.